G'day YouTube, welcome back to my channel Bonsai Works. I'm David. Today I thought I'd take you through my maple collection, especially focusing on my younger maples and what we can do at this stage with my younger trees. Not my mature show trees, but more my younger material. Different types, but they're all maples, so there'll be tridents and Japanese maples predominantly, obviously. Now let's start off with this group. Now this actual group, I actually put these together this winter that's just passed a few months ago. Now it's been made up of multiple clumps. So I've grown clump style, maples before, and these clumps that are like 3 and 2 together. Now I will zoom in, and I'll show you how you can probably just see how a lot of those are clumped. So you can see, for example, this has got like a 5 clump in there, and there's some 3s in there, and 3s in there, and 3s in there. So they're made up of clumps that I have white over the years grown on. And then I thought, you know what, they're not going to look that good as ever look as a single clump, small clump, etc. So what I've decided to do is put in a group together. And this is actually coming along really well. It's surprisingly nice. I think this was the front. I just can't remember now. I don't think it's the other side. I think that this side looks a bit too, in your face. I don't think that would be them. So definitely thinking this is the front. I've gone wide some of the trunks. There's a few things happening with this group, but it's starting to get a bit elongated, a bit long. Start to look at reducing some of the foliage because it's a pretty healthy tree. So I'm not worried about the health of all the trees. Now, if I go through it, for example, looking at this branch here, it's a little bit weak still, just a little bit of foliage. I'm not going to touch that. I'm not going to do anything with that. This one here also, it's just starting really, still a bit young, but this one behind it is just starting to get a bit too much. I'm going to start taking off anything that's too elongated, going too long, and so on. So I work through each branch and make sure you just reduce that last one. I didn't pinch this at all. So it's just a matter of going through and picking out each tree and making sure that there's not a huge amount of elongation. So this one's a bit interesting. Probably just want a short tree in there. So you go through it, reducing things that you need to reduce if it's healthy, if the tree's healthy. So anything that's looking good and healthy, you want to start to prune back. Because of the flusher growth, the first flush is finished. Now we're getting all the subsequent flushes in spring. So it's better reducing, and we slowly get through. Some of these branches are now starting to go this way when I want them to go that way. So we start to, remove things that we're not going to want going in the right direction. Go through it all. A bit more. Don't be scared. It's good to prune. Pruning is good. You might lose a bit of shape for, a week. Then these things explode, and you're going to get much more interesting trees in the future. So going through them, each one, and eliminating anything that's too long. I'm not going to really move any of the trunks just now. I want it to keep flushing growth, and then we'll look at some of these trunks that might have to move and get out of the way. So as I said, I did some initial wiring when I put it together, but now it's a matter of getting this pruned up. So this is probably going to be too long. I'm just going to put him down to there. The more you prune, guys, the more back budding you should have, the more ramification you'll build, so more branching, etc. And the trees are going to obviously look way better. The leaves get smaller with more branching on the tree, so it's all positive. So now the main issues are, let's have a look at that. Just a little bit of that, a little bit of that. And then maybe the top. Probably want to reduce that a little bit as well, and maybe I'll cut it there. Hopefully there's some buds here. Should shoot, no problem. This is a bit long. This is a bit long. Now remember, the internodes are too long. If you got a bud here and a bud here, that internode is too long. So we need to start reducing a lot of this. Controlled pruning, that's what it is. Very controlled. So we've got a much more, starting to take a bit more shape as well, this group. It's actually going to be a nice group. It won't be long before this is looking quite full and lush and with lots of growth, and you can see multiple trunks and so on. So that's what I kind of do now. Start to reduce. I don't get any bleeding now at this time of year because it's a bit later in the spring, and we should have a really good, push of new growth and push much more interesting growth coming along. Okay. This is a very young Japanese maple. And you would have seen me do videos in the past of clump style. Now I'm trying to create a clump in this tree at the base. See how there's multiple trunks? They're all starting to fuse nicely. And it's coming up really good. The trunks are all over the place right now. I'm not too worried because they're still a bit flexible, so I can always wire them into place. But I have maybe, for example, that's maybe roughly a nice front in there. Or let me have a look, where else can it be? It's not too bad. Maybe I'll just stick with, imagine this is the front with all the trunks. So I do see that these two are kind of, wouldn't be crossing, so just simply maneuvering them out of place would be good. Now, this time of year, see how it's all getting all out of control? Now, you can let them go, no big deal, but it help thicken the trunks up as well. Sometimes you also, if you want to look at your trees in a nice, display purpose. So sometimes it's also a good time to just try and get some ramification. You don't have to worry about getting massively thick trunks. These will fuse over time, no problem at all. But look at this is getting a bit of a mess. All these branches are just growing too long. So we can start to cut back. So for example, this branch here, see how there's a node here and there's a node here. That's all bare. I'll never get a bud on this bare bit. So I'll come back and cut to there, at least. It could even go further, but for example, that's where I'll be. So again, I come back, cut back all these into a bit more better shape. This isn't too bad, but I might cut that back a little bit because the node's so long, so big, so long. So I really want to cut back and get it more dense. Because this tree, I don't expect this to be a massive tree. I don't want massive trunks on this tree. I want it small. I just want those trunks to fuse at the base, and then I'll grow slowly out. Don't want to speed anything here. Just want to grow nice and easy, nice and slow. Again, just go back. I think it's good at the right time of year now. It won't bleed or anything like that. A lot of the growth's hardened off, and now we just go through it and start to trim it up. Cut it all back. So I can spread it quite easily. Still, I haven't fused entirely. So again, cut all this back. By cutting all this back, it will encourage back budding further down. Now the problem with this bit is it's bare here to all the way to here. You can see that. Hopefully you can see that. So you could go hard and cut all that off just there, but I'm doing that now just to get more budding in this area, and I'll cut it again down at another time. So again, this is growing too much. I'm just cutting it because I've got long nodes. Okay, there's nothing I can really do with them. I want short nodes, short internodes, sorry. So the distance, I want that to be quite short. The distance from one bud to another. That's too long. So I'll eventually cut that back into here, which I might even do now, okay? This is if this was wide, give it a little trim, and we start to see some sort of shape happening in this tree. We could go this way more, a bit of wire, and you can have a nice 5 group like that. Very easy, keep it nice and trimmed, look good. All right, so here's another tree for the newer people. This is actually not a bad, it's actually got quite a good nabarial base. What I did with this tree actually came from a tree I was growing in the ground, and I air laid the top of the tree. And it's got this huge, quite big base, and it's got multiple trunks growing from it. So it's kind of a multi-trunk already, a tree that's got, a really nice big base, and you probably can see better from this angle. The base is actually quite wide with multiple trunks coming out of it. So one thing I did notice, I think I took this off last year sometime, and just let the tree grow. The roots are growing into the ground, which is good. But there's a lot of dieback, so I'm going to need to clean up all these dead bits. for starters, and look at just how the styling of the tree can start. I haven't really figured out what I'm going to do with it eventually, but it's got some interesting, interesting movement. This is not a bad area. It's got a big wide branch out here, got a branch out here, got a big one out there. Kind of not moving in the right direction though for me. Maybe I think I might like this one, this side more, but there's a back branch in here that we're going to have to deal with. So maybe something around there so you can actually see all the trunks. That's probably the better front. So we can actually start to imagining the front where it could be. So really good base, got a trunk out here, got a trunk out here, trunk out, multiple trunks all over the place. Well, let's clean up some of these dead bits. Now, I didn't clean up everything when I first took this out because I wanted to see what would live and what wasn't going to live. So now I can see what isn't live. So I'm going to start removing all those. And hopefully we get a nice tree out of it. So then the main one's all gone. Cut all the main ones off. So in a way I'm thinking, this could possibly be a front. Possibly we start to, maybe we can remove this and just have the 3 main trees. 4 main trees. No, I like the 3 trees on them, but this is too low, so I might even get rid of this. Because now's the time for the tree not to waste energy. So you shouldn't waste energy on things you don't want to keep. So I got rid of that. There's one on the inside I don't really like, but I might have to keep it for now. Because if I get rid of him, I'm going to be left with 4 trunks, and it's not going to look the best. So I've got one at the back here. Got 1, 2, 3, the main ones. Then I have to cut that off too. That's the other option. Which is not a bad option, I think, too. Let's maybe do that. I think I'm going to go back to 3 trunks. So we'll get rid of him as well. Okay. So that's what I'm going to build a tree on. So 3 big nice trunks. This is a branch up here, so we start to build the tree. By doing all that also, it helps with hopefully getting back budding everywhere. So now what I'm going to do also is start to trim the top of the tree because I want it to back bud. So I'll just give it a good trim over because nothing's really final on this tree just yet. So I'll just give it a nice trim. Don't be scared to trim. So hopefully I'll get lots of back budding. So you can see the buds happening here. There's little nodes here. They should just pop as well. But by trimming back, we're encouraging all that to happen. Trimming back, we're encouraging all that to happen. Back budding happening. Okay. I'm not really worried about the branch structure at this stage. I just want lots of back budding starting to happen. So there's probably not going to be much left on this tree once I'm done this trimming. But that's okay. Probably eventually tilt it up a little bit maybe. We'll see. But it'd be very unique. I probably haven't seen a tree like this before. It'd be quite interesting. Cool. So just give it a nice rough trim. That's a really quite nice base. It's got almost my hand width, the Navari. So it's actually quite a decent size Navari and base. Just probably tilt it at different angles. But now at least I'm trying to push back the growth to try and encourage back budding further down. These can go a little bit shorter as well. Probably don't need all that. Probably don't need all that either. There we go. Something a bit more like that. All right, let's move on to another tree. All right, another one for the new people to bonsai. This is just a group of trident maples I put together over winter. I had an abundance of trident maple seedlings, and I thought I'd just put this nice group together, try to get a nice movement and a lot of trunks in there. It's actually come up really well. Nothing's actually, even the little ones have all survived the change and the repotting. You can see some of the more taller trees trying to create two groups in here, starting to happen. Trying to grow. Have smaller ones out here and so on. So this is done really well. Now it's healthy. It's growing after I cut them all back. But you got to keep it under control a little bit, otherwise you won't get all the back budding. So really, I want this to be just eventually a nice group with a couple of big ones over here, slowly going down, tapering off. Now even the back's getting a bit out of control. So you see how the back branches are actually getting quite crazy. So this is almost a nice quick trim. Just give it a nice trim. Very easy. So have a look close in. Some of the trees have just gone a bit crazy. You don't want that to happen. Cut at the nodes. Make sure you can cut it like a hedge if you really want to, but I can see where the nodes, cutting the nodes off. Cutting back to a node. These are nice branches to keep on the side. I like side branches. Don't really like the ones going straight up. So you can almost treat it like a hedge. And then go back through. Make sure you clip it off properly. Let's keep turning this around. So you can see all this nice little tree at the back, but these are all a bit too going straight up. Nice. This one probably has to go a bit bigger, but this one's a little bit out of control over back here. I think he was supposed to be more that way. So don't be shy. Don't be scared to trim. This might need a bit of wiring of the trunks back a little bit. Put a bit of movement back in there. I need those long ones in there. Come out here. Probably don't need so much out here. So there's a quick rough trim up of this tree. This area needs a bit more work. By trimming these back, I'm encouraging hopefully the back budding in here. So this can branch out into branches in here. Other than that, it's a nice young group, but really can be built very quickly. Like in a couple of years, this would be just a forest of trees with one big huge canopy, which is how I like to see it. And then I can expose more of the trunks. Now the foliage is a bit low on some of these, but we can expose all the trunks. All right, another one for the newer people. This is a really interesting, it's got a rock and it's been grown around the rock, but it's a really big base. I don't want to move that. I'll try and spin it around. But it's a really big fat based Nabari at the moment. It's good front from that side as well, but the rock's on this side, so maybe this one eventually will be the front. So this was grown in the ground for a few years. Wasn't this big, but I grew it in the ground, and this is its first season, I guess, out of the ground. Now it's in just a grow pot. Don't be scared don't be rushed to put it in a bonsai pot. It's not ready. I cut all the trunks all off and left two, one on this side and the main one. So it's like a twin trunk I'm creating. And do you see how the foliage is growing? Now, that's all I do. I don't touch it. I don't cut this one. Now, the reason I don't cut this one is just because I've just taken it out of the ground. It doesn't have much roots. So I'm letting it accumulate the energy to really build the roots now, to get the roots really strong, push more growth, and so on, let the cycle begin. So this one really, I won't even touch the foliage, maybe till after summer. I just let the tree grow and recover and get all those roots really established, new roots. Because as I said, it pretty much was no roots on this tree. Cut all the heavy stuff right off because there's a lot of heavy stuff at the place, and just, yeah, let the new roots grow by leaving the foliage grow. This foliage will photosynthesize, push down into the roots, grow the roots, and so on. The cycle begins. The more foliage I have, the more roots I'll have. So at this stage, that's all I'm doing. So another important lesson: don't touch trees that if you've dug them out of the ground. I wouldn't touch them at all for a year. Maybe after summer I might give it a bit of a prune, but that's about it. Thanks for watching, everyone. I'll see you next time.